After an hour-long commute from Yuma, Ruben Moreno Garcia arrives at his El Centro apartment and immediately boots up his laptop. First thing, he checks his email.
And I received 2 emails.
One is a reminder for his weekly counseling session. The Army vet was diagnosed with PTSD after serving 3 tours in combat. The other has a username and password to connect to his weekly counseling session. And with a couple of rings, he's face-to-face.
All right, I've got there we go, video.
Or face-to-screen, rather, with Dr. Catherine Williams. She's his psychologist, located 100 miles away at the San Diego VA. It's called Telehealth, virtually connecting patient with psychologist. And the San Diego VA is the West Coast leader on launching the program.
For almost a decade, we've been providing some type of telehealth care.
That's Dr. Neelis Shah, who runs the telehealth program. It got its start as a way to monitor chronic disease among patients who lived far away.
So, for example, we would have a diabetic patient who would submit daily their blood sugars or their blood pressure.
The information would go to a secure website monitored by a nurse. Over the years, the program expanded to new areas, like psychiatry. But the question is, does it really work? At first, even Ruben said it was weird.
There was some sense of kind of being distant. You couldn't really feel like trusting the person because there was no physical interaction.
Psychologist Stephen Thorpe agrees. He ran the PTSD clinic at the San Diego VA.
And you do miss out on some things that you would get face-to-face. So you can't touch the client. Like sometimes we shake a veteran's hand, and you can tell if they seem anxious, if their palm is warm or cold, things like that.
But despite the lack of physical contact, Thorpe says the video conferencing is just as effective as face-to-face counseling. In fact, he was part of a team that just finished one of the largest studies on the matter. They compared more than 200 veterans. About half did face-to-face, and the other did video conferencing.
And so right after the 12 sessions were done, after 12 weeks, the people who did face-to-face did a little bit better.
But 6 months later, something interesting happened.
And then we asked them again 6 months later how they were doing in terms of their PTSD symptoms, and found that the folks who went through video conferencing psychotherapy kept improving over the course of those 6 months until they were at the same level of the face-to-face folks.
That was the case for Ruben, the combat veteran living in El Centro. Just more than a year ago, he was in a bad place.
I was trying to do a swan dive from the roof onto concrete.
He didn't jump. His dog actually prevented him from jumping until his mother came home. But he said he wanted to, and it wasn't the last time he tried something like that. After serving overseas as an Army mechanic, he brought home a lot of memories he wished he never had. On his last tour, he was a wrecker. He'd retrieve parts from damaged vehicles and sometimes rescue troops that were still stuck inside them.
If you were lucky, it will blow up far enough that only will be vehicle damage. Sometimes we weren't that lucky. Sometimes the vehicle actually gets blown upside down or sideways. And then, well, since these vehicles are made to keep people out, there's locks inside.
When he got back to the U.S., he started the telehealth program twice a week from the satellite clinic in El Centro. But working in Yuma, it made it difficult to get to the clinic before closing time. Then a federal grant came through to fund the in-home conferencing he uses now. He's actually the first person in San Diego to try it, the first of only about 50. For Ruben, that's not enough.
And that's why I don't mind doing this, so the word gets out and actually some dust gets picked up.
Ruben said he hopes funding continues for the tech workers, server space, and psychologists that make the program possible. So eventually, all of his fellow vets get the chance to recover in the privacy of their own home. Because it worked for him. Tarryn Mento, KPBS News.